Hey, wives. Listen, that's when it do what it's supposed to do, honey. That's when it do what it's supposed to do. Hello. Happy Self-Care Friday. Happy Self-Care Friday. Y'all looking like, Coach C, you on a little earlier than normal. Yup. I am. I have been on a couple of days. I've had taken me a couple of days off to kind of like prepare for this fall season. I normally just take me some days off just to take me some days off, honey, just to keep my mind right. Come on, Jesus. So happy Self-Care Friday. Happy Self-Care Friday, wives. Listen, I want to jump right into what I want to share with you because I do. Listen, the hair is doing what it's doing today. I want to jump in right into what I want to share with you because I have a few things that I want to say. Don't want to hold you long. Want you to get on about your Friday so you can enjoy your day. So as usual, Jesus, be a fence, okay? Be a fence. My name is Coach C for some of my new followers or some of the ones who may not know me. I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. I coach wives who are going through a marital separation. That marital separation includes abandonment, adultery, addiction, emotional and mental abuse. Many times, the wives that I coach, they have gotten some type of prophetic word or a rhema word or instructions, divine word from the Lord, where they feel like God has told them to stay in an unhealthy or an unprofitable marriage. And so on that note, welcome. Listen, as you can see by the title, we are going to get into something a little bit deeper on today. Just felt like we needed to talk about this a little bit as we are moving in, the last, few months of this year. I wanted to talk about this. And you guys know that anytime, when I have, been meeting with wives, during the week, I always try to come up with, what is that commonality, what is that common thing that I'm hearing from the wives. And so lately I have been doing some data, recording myself, just trying to keep up with, where, a lot of wives are on their journey, what they have going on. And this week, this is one of the topics that kind of stood out, from some of the wives that I was coaching. And so I'm going to share a lot of transparency today. I'm going to start off with transparency. Then I'm going to share with you, some things that you can start doing, some questions that you may want to start asking yourself. If you have a question, I'd say put your questions in the question box. Y'all know I don't do good with the up, down thing. But if you have questions, you can put your questions in the question box. Or if you, catch this as a repeat, you can always send me a message through DM or send me a message on my website. All right. So before I get to what I'm going to actually say, like the stuff I actually written down, the Lord had brought this to my attention just before I came on. And one of the things I am always thinking about, or something I'm always, I'm curious about, is how and why does God allow certain things, a certain type of pains to take place, with people. I was watching a show the other night. It was about this young boy who, I guess one of his parents had passed away. Well, both of his parents had passed away. And he was adopted. And the family who took him in basically was just abusing him. They was abusing him. He was getting beat up. He was getting, thrown all across, the house. He was doing, just all kinds of stuff. And he was asking people on the outside to help him, and it seemed like he couldn't get no help. So one incident happened where, it got so bad where it landed him in the hospital. And so the mother who was abusing him, the mother who, was abusing him, she wanted to let it be known, like, you better not say nothing to these people about what I'm doing to you, or it's going to be, worse for you. And so the people, in the hospital could see, like, okay, this guy is messed up. Like, this guy, really is, got stuff going on. Like, a blind man can see, like, this boy is being abused. But when he would, they would ask him questions and stuff, it was like he was scared and he was nervous about saying anything, because of what, the lady had threatened him and said to him. And so that went on or whatever. He ended up getting out of the hospital, going back to that home, was getting abused again. Until he just got tired one day. He was like, look, y'all gonna have to do something about this situation. And so at the end of the movie, you see, him as an adult and how he, he finally overcame, that hardship. But he was so successful, and how, he had, this beautiful family, and how he, was like a spokesperson, for children who were being abused and that type of thing or whatever. And so that was just one incident, right? That was just one example. And then I think about the story, like, people like Joyce Myers, who, her story is, she was, basically sexually abused by her father for many years. It wasn't like a one-time thing. Like, this went on for a long period of time. And so you question sometimes, like, where was God in the middle of that? Like, why did God allow these things to take place? And, she shared, how she prayed and, asked, God, for things. And I'm sure this, even in this movie, this young boy was praying, and asking God. And, you just think about people who are going through certain types of abuse, and people who are going through certain type of, things in that nature. And it's like, I'm praying. But yet and still, God is not answering me. And so one of the things that God had brought to my attention was, you can trace all those stories back to, all those negatives happening to those people. But then the outcome, even let's go to the Bible. Let's just go to the story of Joseph, who was, thrown in a pit, by his brothers, and then, was sold, as a slave, and, went through all this different hardship that he went through. But then at the end of his story, of his journey, was like, all the hell that he went through, he still came out as the top dog on top. He still came out, as the man at the end. And so I share it to say, so many times, wives are in this place of, why am I going through this? Or why is God allowing, this to happen to me? Or, when will I get off of this roller coaster ride? Or when, when this, will this end? And I say that to say, wives, you don't plan to marry, a person and think, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my days and the rest of my life, living in, all kinds of, heartache or, headache with a man that I vowed to say I do to. I'm not going to do that. Good morning. I'm not going to spend the rest of my days here on earth living with a man who is, completely, just being mental abusive towards me, emotional abusive towards me, who has disrespected the marital vow. You don't plan for that. Like, nobody wakes up and says, oh, okay, I want to, just live my life in hardship for the rest of my life. Like, you don't plan that. But one of the things I can say is that God will use your story for his glory. God will use your story, your pain, for your gain. God will use that hardship, wife, that you're dealing with in your marriage for a greater narrative, for your future. And I always just highlight and want to just emphasize to why it's that you have to understand, everyone is not called to this place. Okay. Hello. Everyone is not called to this place. Everyone is not supposed to be doing this type of journey. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like it's so important for wives to get connected to the right source, for wives to get connected to the right provider. Excuse me. Because a lot of times when they hear like, oh, there is something, it's a possibility where I can possibly get my husband back. I want to know what I have to do. They want to know what they have to do. They're looking for that quick fix, but they're not necessarily willing to go through whatever it is that's needed for them to, go through that process, for them to get, the results that God wants to give them, right? All they hear is, oh, I didn't even know it was this thing about, standing for your marriage. I didn't even know there was such a thing about, marital restoration. I thought that, because marriage is like it is, how things have happened between me and my husband, like this was the end of my rope. But now I hear that there's this thing called marital restoration. There's this thing called, marital standing. And there's a possibility that they can show me something and teach me something on how to get my husband back. So wives are, they go after that. They go after the marital restoration journey. They go after the, how to stand for, for their marriage. But they're not getting the whole understanding of the whole picture and what God is trying to do to them and in them during that time. Okay. And so I say that to say, your biggest asset, ma'am, your biggest asset on this journey is your relationship with the Lord. Your biggest asset on this journey is your relationship with the Lord. Building that connection and that rapport with God will be two of the things that will sustain you on this journey for the long haul. Okay. Building that connection with God, building that rapport with God, that is going to be the thing that will sustain you on the long haul, for this thing to go, as long as it may need to. That is what's going to sustain you on this journey. There are a series of things that you will have to endure and suffer through in order for God to get you to the place He wants to take you. And so a lot of frustrations that I'm hearing from wives, they are frustrated and they are, concerned. They are curious because what marital restoration and what marital standing has promised wives, it seems like, well, this is not happening. Like this is not what's going on. All right. And so they're trying to figure out, well, I'm doing all the things that, people are saying that you're supposed to do. And I'm hearing the testimonies of people who have said they did these certain things, but yet and still my situation has not turned yet. My journey is still, in the red. I'm still on, in the negative. Okay. And, one of the reasons I love teaching about the cross so much is because that was my default. The cross was my default. Every time I had something that, came up that, I was just kind of like, Lord, what is this? It was like God taught me how to do my journey by teaching me how to bear my cross. And this is why I always tell wives, if God has called you to this, you have to understand you are carrying your marital cross. All right. You are carrying your marital cross. And when you are carrying your cross, you have to understand that is not your way. That is not the most desirable way. That is not really the way that a lot of people will prefer to go. Carrying your cross, meaning you literally are following the ways of the Lord. Carrying your cross, meaning you are really, following, Christ's way. Carrying your cross, meaning you're going to have to endure and suffer through some things. Okay. And so I always just like to just highlight the cross in my teachings, when I'm sharing, with my wives, I share with them a cross specifically, just showing how important the cross is on this type of journey. And so many times, wives feel like they have surrendered, they have submitted, they have been, doing all the things that, they feel like they're supposed to have, they have done. And a lot of wives who I coach are dealing with, that unfaithful husband, that husband who may be dipping and dabbing into, drugs, that husband who, has a drinking problem, that husband who is, living in the home, but maybe living in a separate room, that husband who is living outside of the home, and maybe he's living with the other woman, that husband who's living in the home with the wife, sleeping in the same bed with her, but he's still doing whatever he wants to do, that husband who is disconnected from his wife, that husband who have very few words to share, or have very little to give, or even sometimes you even have the husbands who you'll think like he is a dime piece in some, because he's doing all the things right. He's here, he's cooking, he's participating, he's available, he's making himself available, but at the same time he's dealing with something in the background that wife is unaware of. He's dealing with some things that he's hiding it and covering up with, oh, well, I'm gonna cook for you tonight, or oh, I'm going to do this for my family, or I'm going to do this my thing for you, or I'm going to do this. But yet it's still, that wife still is grieved still by him, because she knows and recognizes something is off, something is not well with him. And I say, wife, you have not submitted. You have not submitted or surrendered until you can be in the home, in the same bed with this type of spouse, knowing, and this was my story, knowing that he's involved with another person. Hearing with your own ears the conversations that he was having with another person, knowing that you basically have been discarded, and this other person has now not taken your place, because you're not replaceable, you're the wife, but this person has now become the attention that your husband is seeking after of. This person has now grasped your husband's attention, and now you're having to maintain self. Because at the end of the day, you don't have any control over him. You don't have any control over what he's doing. So now God is allowing this to happen, and you're having to maintain yourself. You're having to maintain, what is it, or what do I have to do, even after you have been praying, even after you have been crying, even after you have been, fasting, even after you have been going through these things. You have to learn how to maintain this, because God has not given you a release. God has not given you an answer. God has not said anything to you. God has not given you a go. And one of the things I always try to, express to wives, and one of the reasons why I always encourage wives to sign up for consultations, is because you need to hear from God. You need to know, is this something I'm supposed to be doing? Am I on the right track? Am I doing this, am I going through this suffering, for the Lord's sake, or am I going through this suffering in vain? Like, is this something that God is actually calling me to? Because everyone is not called to this type of stand. I cannot emphasize it. Everyone is not called to this type of journey. Everyone is not called to live or be in or stay with a unhealthy spouse, knowing that he is not being faithful, knowing that he is giving his attention and his passion and giving his body to another person. Knowing these things, a lot of wives have to understand that is not for every person. Every person cannot sustain that type of shock, that type of trauma, that type of injury. A lot of wives can say with their mouths all they want. Oh, that's my husband, I'm gonna let him do. But when you are actually walking in something like that, it's like you have to understand your body is going through a shock. You are going to be traumatized. You are going to be wounded. You are going to be dealing with all types of things yourself on the inside. And so as God is still telling you to maintain this, good morning, as God is still telling you to maintain these things and to go forward with this, you are still having to maintain your trauma, your wounds, your shock. You are still having to maintain that, because God has not said or has not released you. God is even allowing these things to happen, and you're trying to figure out, wait, this is not what marriage is, God. Like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what marriage looks like. This is not what marriage is supposed to be. And yet and still, God is telling you to do this. And I always tell you, don't be doing this if the Lord has not given you the goal to do this. Don't be out here saying, oh, well, I'm just out here trusting the Lord. God, like, you trusted me, but I don't know what you trusted me for in this situation, because I didn't tell you to do this. And so you have to understand there's more. There's a series of things that goes along with this journey. It's not just I'm out here standing for my marriage, or I'm out here just believing God to restore my marriage and to fix my husband. No. You have to know if this is something that you have been called to. People who go through something like this, they have been called to do this. I'm not telling you that, oh, well, I'm called to be a wife. No. This is not just about you being called to be a wife. You are called to endure hard stuff. You are called to endure pain on this level. You are called to endure this level of anger and frustration. You are called to this, right? You are called to this. And everyone is not necessarily called to this. Joseph was called to sustain and do his journey like he was able to do. Moses was called to do the what God has told him to do. He go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And God knew that when he went to go tell Pharaoh to let his people go, that Pharaoh was not going to let his people go. But yet and still, God continued to tell Moses, go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And so you have to know that if you are in a situation or in a situation like this, this is something that you have to make sure that you know that God is calling you to this. God is calling you to be strong. God is calling you to endure. God is teaching you how to labor in hardship. God is teaching you how to labor in, just the hardship of doing something like this. This is not for everybody, right? This is not for everybody. You're not going to be okay, wife. And I say this all the time. With your husband in the home with you, or even outside of the home, talking to another woman, engaging in conversation, you exactly what he's doing. You're trying to just accept, like, well, this is it, this is what it is, and God has me here, and maybe this is something that no. God is trying to teach you something in that. Okay, you're not just there just to be there. You're not just, I'm just here just going through this. Okay, God is trying to teach you something. God is trying to show you something about yourself. God is working something out in you in that situation. Your job while you're in that is to maintain self. Your job while you're in there is to have some control over yourself. Your job while you're in there is to, I hear him talking over there. Yeah, I know he's doing these things. Yeah, but how are you going to respond? I think go back to the teaching where they talk about, the wolves, how, Jesus said, I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves. And it's like, how are you going to maintain your sheep-like behavior among these wolves? Are you going to allow these wolves to change you and make you be something else? Or are you going to remain a sheep? And that's what it really boils down to. How are you going to maintain being a representative of Christ? And I always tell wives that you are a representative of Christ in your marriage. You are a representative of Christ when you are in that kind of situation. How are you going to represent and how are you going to maintain your sheep-like behavior when you're dealing with a wolf? Because the goal and what the enemy wants you to do is to take away your sheep-like behavior and turn you into a wolf. That's the goal of the enemy. But God is trying to teach you how to labor in that and be that sheep. All right. And so I wanted to start off with that. I know that was a lot. That was heavy. But I want to start off with that. And so that's the first part. And so I say, we are heading into the last quarter of the year, and wives, it's time for you to make a decision. All right. Bottom line, point blank, period. It is time for you to make a decision. And it's not about a decision only about your marriage, but it's about a decision about your life. Going through this type of journey is not just about your marriage. I cannot emphasize it enough. This is not just about your marriage. This is about your life, because God has something that he's trying to do in you. So many wives are confused about why they keep converting back to anger on this journey when they feel like they have gotten better on this journey. And so, I have titled, my title, this message, her default is anger. So many wives that I have spoken with over this past week, that's what they keep defaulting at. They get halfway on the journey and they doing good, they moving in a forward direction, but then somehow something come up because they have let what is going on with their spouse or what is going on, around them, or what's going on in the environment. They have allowed those things to, interfere with what God is trying to do in them. And so they keep reverting back to anger. They keep on going back to a place of anger. And so there are some questions that I want to encourage wives to begin asking themselves. If you want to sit with these things over the weekend, if you want to sit with these questions, I want to encourage you, wives. I want to encourage you to sit with these questions and really, really see where you are on your journey as we moving forward, in this year. All right. So the first question you should ask yourself: what or who have I let back into my life to change my mind or the lifestyle I was creating? Or who I have allowed to interrupt the boundaries I had set in place for myself. Okay? What or who have I let back into my life to change my mind, to change my lifestyle that I was creating? Or who or what has interrupted the boundaries I had set in place? That is a question that you want to begin to ask yourself. All right. Number 2, what have I stopped doing that I was doing and it was working for me, but now I have stopped. I'm not doing it anymore. What have I stopped doing that was working for me? It was working for me, but now I stopped doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. Okay? You want to ask yourself that question. That's number 2. And number 3, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do today to get back to my healthy place? What is it that I need to do today to get back to my healthy place? All right? How do you keep falling off and going backwards? And why are you not seeing consistent growing results moving forward on this journey? All right? How do you keep falling off and going backwards? And why are you not seeing consistent growing results moving forward? Okay? One of the biggest things I hear many times, I hear wives have traded in their faith and their belief for a fast or a quick word. This is like one of the top things I'm hearing. Many times wives have traded in their faith or their belief in God for a quick word. Then when that word doesn't come to pass, disappointment is right around the corner. When that word is not coming to pass, disappointment is right around the corner. And you have to understand, disappointment can be paralyzing for a person's faith journey. Disappointment can be paralyzing for a person who has been believing God for a thing for, many years. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've been believing for many years and nothing is happening, nothing is changing. What's going on? That can cripple a person's faith journey. But one of the things I want wives to understand today, wives have to understand, even when God gives a word, when God gives like a word, one of my gifts I flow in heavily is the word of wisdom. So even when God gives a word, it doesn't necessarily happen right away. It doesn't necessarily happen right now. And that's probably why I'm real big on, people, they say, oh, well, I got this prophetic word and, God said this and God said that. And it's like, the prophet said that God, this is going to happen and God going to do this and God, and I'm saying, okay, all right. Because I flow heavy in the word of wisdom and I hear from God and I know when God give me certain words or give me certain things, I know and recognize that those things may not necessarily happen right away. I am real, I'm kind of like, when people tell me like, oh, well, God said this, or, the prophet said that God gonna do this, or, and I'm like, okay, did you hear that from God yourself? Like, did God tell you those things, or is this something that, that prophet had said to you? And so I'm real big on, wives yielding to that, yielding to those types of things. Prophets can tell you one thing, but it's nothing like getting a director from the Lord. Okay, it's nothing like getting a director from the Lord. And so sometimes when God gives you a word, it doesn't necessarily happen right away. Okay, you need faith to see God's word come to pass, and sometimes that takes time. A lot of the words that God gave me on my journey, I didn't see those things happening until way later. And even there are still some things now that are still, just not coming to pass or just not manifesting. But there are also some things that I have, prayed and God had told me that I'm still waiting to come to pass. Those things have not come to pass, right? Those things have not come to pass. And that can be a frustrating journey. That can be a frustrating journey. But if you are placing your, your whole heart into God and what God is saying to you, you got to hold on to what the word is. God has already built enough rapport with me for me to know, like, okay, I know this is going to come to pass. It hasn't come to pass yet, but because of my history with God, because of the rapport that I have already built with him, because of my time I've spent with him, because of, different things that has already happened, I know that this is going to come to pass, even though it hasn't come to pass yet. All right. And so I'm just real big on wives being real careful about, getting words from, prophetic words. And then, when that stuff don't happen, they're kind of like, in a bad place. Let's go to the story of Abraham in Genesis 17, verses 4-6. When God told him, look, you're going to be the father of many nations, right? You're going to be the father of many nations. That didn't happen right away. Abraham went through all kinds of stuff before that came to pass. It was all different types of things that took place before that actually came to pass. And so when you are, holding on to what God has said, this is one of the reasons why I always tell wives, if you're going to get a prophetic word, make sure that prophetic word is something backed up with what God has already been telling you yourself. And this is why I'm so big about wives spending that time with God. I'm so big about wives hearing from God themselves, because there's nothing like, oh, you said this to me, God, and now this person just kind of like confirm what you have already said. You want to make sure that you are getting that word from God. All right. And so what I have been running into lately is wives who are not only looking for a quick fix, but they are looking for a quick word too. All right. They're not just looking for a quick fix, but they're looking for a quick word, and to give them some sort of relief about what they are going through. And that's not necessarily the case. All right. That's not necessarily the case. God can tell you, hey, I need you to, and this has happened to me. This definitely happened to me. I remember when I was on my job, and I remember the Lord said, all right, go ahead and put your notice in. You think you're in this job, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay. Now, I had an interview. I had an interview, with someone, and so, but they hadn't called me back yet. So when God told me, like, I need to put your notes in, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe this job is getting ready to call me back. Maybe, this is getting ready to happen. Baby, that job didn't call me back right away, and I didn't get that job for another whole month and a half. But God had me off of the job, home, trusting and believing Him. Now, back then, Coach T used to wear like a little cord, like little, cute little picky, cut. And so I used to get my hair did. I was used to get my hair colored and all that kind of stuff. And all that had stopped. All that had stopped. And then it was a young lady in my neighborhood whose daughter, she was trying to get her daughter like on a bus or whatever, and she needs somebody to kind of like do that. And so I'm saying, okay, this would be a quick way for me to kind of like, maybe this would be a way I can get a couple of coins while, helping her daughter get on a bus, and then I can have some money coming in. And the Holy Spirit was like, nope, you're not going to charge her. You're going to get that baby on the bus, and you're not going to ask her for a dime. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I ain't got no money coming in. Like, I ain't got nothing coming in, Lord. Like, my money done ran out. What are you doing? But God took me through a faith, through a faith experience during that time. And He wanted me to learn how to trust Him, even with just a word. He didn't say, oh, they're going to call you on this day. This is going to happen. Da, da, da. I was literally out there on faith. I remember people was telling me, like, did you get the job? Like, did you hear from them? And I was like, no, I hadn't heard anything from them. I had an interview, but I hadn't heard anything. And it was like, wow, this girl really is out here just doing this. And so you have to understand, sometimes God will say a thing and give you a word, and you may not necessarily see nothing happening or nothing coming to pass, right away. All right? And too many wives are looking for that quick fix. They're looking for that quick word. They're looking for that relief, something that they can go by. And what they are what they're not taking into account is transformation is a process, right? Transformation is a process. Even to get God to trust you fully takes time. He's invested in the broken part of you, hoping that you will yield to the process so you can get the best results. All right, hoping that you will yield to the process so that you can get the best results. Too many wives just want their marriages restored. All right, they just want their marriages restored, and they want their husbands back without going through anything. And this is just not how it goes. All right. Their thing is like, Jesus, just fix it. just fix it. Right. But what do you really profit? What do you really profit from Him just fixing it? And how long will that sustain you before something else comes up or something else happens? All right. You don't want Him to just fix it. You want to be able to understand and learn and grow and mature and develop on this journey. All right. You want to be able to do those things. God took the children of Egypt, around, the long way instead of the shorter route. He did that because they were not prepared for what they would face, right? They were not prepared. God fix your marriage and bring your husband back home, and you have not went through anything, or you have not, processed through anything, or endured through anything, or went through any type of hardship. Now your husband come back home. Now you can interfere with that. You can bring an injury into the marriage. You can bring an injury to that man's heart, to that man's soul, and then his situation becomes worse off than it was before he came back home. All right. So you gotta understand that going through this process in a quick way, trying to get a quick word, that ain't it. Okay, that ain't it. Skipping out on the journey doesn't benefit you. Okay, it doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't prepare you for the next thing that God wants to do in your life or your marriage. All right. So let's talk about anger. All right. Since her default is anger, let's talk about anger. And the question I want you to begin asking yourself is, why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? Okay. Why are you so angry? Many times wives don't even know why they're angry. They don't know who they're angry with. They don't know, where the anger has come from. I'm just angry. I'm just mad. I'm just They don't know what it is. But many times what it is, they're angry because they want control of something that God is telling them to release. They're angry because they want control of something that God is telling them to release. And because they are refusing to release it, they're in this place of frustration. They're in this place of, resentment. They're in this place of bitterness. They're in this place of rage, and then anger, is anger, right? Anger is right there. They're in this place of, of grief. They're in this place of disappointment. They're in this place because they're trying to have control over something that God is saying, I need you to get that to me. I need you to get that to me. I need you to get that to me. You don't know the times I would ask God, like, God, why are you allowing this man to continue to be this way towards me? Like, why are you allowing him to get away with these things? Why are you allowing him to continue to do these things? And it was in those moments I would hear God sometimes to tell me, like, I heard you. I hear you. I hear everything. I hear everything you're saying. I have not abandoned you. I hear your prayers. I know what you're going through. I see what's going on. You have to trust me. You have to trust me. It wasn't like God was saying, like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. Sometimes he would say that, but sometimes it was just him just simply saying, you got to trust me. you got to trust me. I know you don't like it. I know it don't feel good. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's frustrating, but you got to trust me. You got to trust me. Okay. And this is where a lot of wives are, they're battling. They're battling. Okay. Or maybe you are that wife. Maybe you're that wife that you are doing things God's way. You are doing what God is telling you to do, but you are skipping over some parts. You're only doing partial or just enough to get by. Like, I'm fasting, I'm reading my Bible, I'm going to church, I'm doing my devotion in the morning time, I'm being nice, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And God is like, you ain't getting it yet. you still not getting it, all right? So when a challenge happens, you are withholding because you have limited yourself on what it is that God is trying to show you. You're withholding and you have limited yourself. You have limit yourself. And so then when God tells you to go to the end of the line and start over again, you looking around like, but what had happened? Like, I thought I was doing what you told me to do, God. I thought I was on board with you. I thought I was doing, and I'm like, I'm gonna need you to start over. I need you to go back to the end of the line. I need you to repeat this because you have not learned what you need to learn. You have not gotten what you need to get off this journey. I hear about so many wives who stories where they are literally right in front of their miracle. They can literally reach their hand out and touch, what God wants to do. The results is like right there. But yet and still, because of their unwillingness to not face a challenge that God presents to them, they get sent back to the end of the line. God was like, you're going to have to face this in order to get to the next place. You're not going to be able to, okay, well, I'm doing this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but I don't want to really deal with that right part. I don't want to deal with that part. It's like, no, you're going to have to deal with that part too. Like, okay, I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to fast in the spirit. I'm going to go to church, but I don't want to talk about me, because like, I ain't got nothing going on. I ain't the one who messed up. Like, really, it's him. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So I don't really want to, dig up stuff from my past. I don't really want to talk about, how I grew up. I don't really want to talk about, all the bad examples I see. I don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff. Like, and God's like, but you got to talk about that. Like, we got to deal with that part. Like, there's still something there that needs to be addressed. And this is why you keep on going back to the end of the line. This is why you keep on dealing with the same stuff over and over and over and over again. All right? Too many wives are right there at that place, and they're not able to get what it is that God wants to give to them because they're unwilling to face that challenge that needs to be faced. All right. Let me give you a few examples. You have a wife who is sleeping with her husband, who's living in a separate room in their home, and she doesn't have proof that he's cheating, but every time they are intimate, she's grieved and she feels used. They also have no other emotional connection outside of sex. And, it's just like he's just here, they just there, we have sex, that's it. But after she's having sex with him, she don't feel nothing. It's like, I'm grieved, I feel worse off than I was, when we first started this. I feel used, I feel taken advantage of. Like, God, what is this? Okay, what is this? Or you may have a wife who is communicating with her husband who lives on the outside. Her husband is actually outside of the home. He lives on the outside. They talk, cordially every single day. They meet up sometimes. They hang out. They do things together like a husband and wife, like a husband and wife does. Yet and still, he hasn't made a commitment to come back to the home. He has not made a commitment to come back to the home. Neither does he want to discuss it. So like, even when she brings it up to him, like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, you know, we good. We just keep doing what we doing right here. You know, he's like, you know, I want to talk about that. I like how it is. He likes the way things are. Him living his life on the outside and having access to his wife on his terms. All right. So you have situations like that. And then you have a wife who has been trusting God with her marriage, She's taken all of the courses. She's read all the books. She's doing the fasting. She's praying. She's praying in the spirit. She's going to church. She's being nice to her husband. She's sending, you know, mercy and unconditional love. And she's doing all those, you know, nice things towards him. Yet nothing has changed. Nothing has, you know, changed. The man still had not come home, or if he's living inside the home, nothing has changed about him while he's there in the home. And it seems like God is silent, like God is not listening, God's not saying anything. But what is really happening is God is giving her little bits of something, or sometimes it feels like God is giving her little bits of something. Like sometimes she may have a little breakthrough, or sometimes she might have a little bit of something, and then all of a sudden it's like God is silent again. It's like, God, what is this about? Like, why is it like I get like 2 steps forward and then I get knocked 5 steps back? How is it like I get, you know, 2 steps forward and get knocked, you know, 5 steps back? All right. What is taking place in these existence? All right. What is taking place in these existence? What is the wife needing to keep moving? Like, why are these things happening? Okay. And what wives have to understand is these types of wives need wisdom, not stuff from off the internet. Okay. They need wisdom. They need someone who has experience in these areas. They need someone who has gone through something like this, and they need a new strategy because something is off. They need an action plan. They need to know what are the next steps to be taking. All right. Many times wives are doing all of the biblical things, but they are still missing out on the practical, and they're missing out on wisdom, and they're unaware of their blind spots. Many times wives are focusing only on, like, you know, well, I've been doing this. They told me to do this. They told me to do this. But nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. All right. She needs a expert to give her a different perspective. She needs an expert to give her a different perspective. And so as a mental health wife coach, I help wives to change the way she's thinking. I help wives to apply truth to what she has going on. Applying truth, applying these things that she's doing, and then I give her a strategy. I give her a strategy to make her shift on this journey. All right. Many times, wives are trying to figure out, like, you know, I'm doing all these things, but nothing has happened. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but nothing has changed. I'm doing that. I'm doing everything they say they're doing. I'm hearing other people's testimonies of what they have done, and I've done that and some, and still nothing has happened, because you need someone to give you a different perspective. You need someone to give you a different way of looking at your situation. You need a different plan, a different strategy. You know, you need something different. All right. So I want to share about a wife, some transparency about this. One of my current clients. She's actually my client now, and she had completed her, you know, curriculum, her Bonnie to Boost, and then she had even started doing her monthly check-ins, right? And so after a couple of months, you know, one day she decided, like, you know, I'm not going to do the check-ins no more. You know, I'm going to just, you know, walk with God and do this, you know, with God or whatever. And so she did that for about 6 months, and then she made a decision to come back. When she checked in, you know, I walked her through the mental and emotional the mental and emotional detox, because by this time she needed that. She needed to get her mind renewed, you know, have a do-over, you know, do a mental and emotional dump, kind of get back into, you know, a healthy place and kind of like figure out where she is on her journey at this time of her life. And so we did that. And then within 4 months, she started to see major changes, you know, in her life. She started to see major changes in herself. She started to see major changes in her, you know, on her marriage journey. She started to see major changes. Now, does this mean that everything just got grand better and, you know, woo-la all of a sudden? No. But what she did see was, like, the steps and the necessary things that she needed to do and things that she had to do to get back to this better and healthier place, all right? And you have to understand you cannot bypass that part. So many wives are trying to bypass that part. It's like you cannot bypass that part. That is certain things that you just have to do on this journey, all right? So within 4 months, she's seen the changes. She's seen the changes in her husband. And she even got to a place where she understood why God had allowed her to go through that process that she was going through. She was frustrated. She was angry. And what we had to do was figure out where that anger was coming from. Like, where was that anger coming from? And how to get her back to a healthier path. And so I said that to say, you know, again, too many wives are trying to avoid the process. They're avoiding the parts where God needs to work on them the most. They're just trying to just, you know, tell me about this. Or they want all the juicy parts. They want all the juicy parts of the story. Or tell me what happened to the other woman. Or tell me how God dealt with the other one. They want to know all that stuff, but they don't want to deal with themselves. Right? They don't want to deal with themselves. They are tracking their husbands and they're tracking their marriages, but they are not tracking their transformation. Let me say that again. They are tracking their husbands, they are tracking their marriages, but they are not tracking their transformation. Anger will remain your default wife until you make a decision to get on board with God's plan. Period. You will stay in a place of anger. You will start moving forward. You will start seeing some changes. You will start, doing some things. But if you still try to take shortcuts and you don't follow through with God's plan, anger will be your default. You will come back to the same place and be starting over again. All right. You will be starting over again. And so I just want to encourage you. Listen, make sure that you are doing what God is calling you to do. Make sure this is something that God wants you to do. Make sure that you have clear understanding and clarity about this journey, and make sure that you are moving in a forward direction and moving in a place that God wants you to move forward with. All right. Listen, I want to encourage you. I want to be that for you. I want to be that wife coach for you to help you get to that next place. I want to help push you through and get you to where God wants to take you next on this journey, because so many wives are being stuck, are remaining stuck in the same place because they're unwilling to let go of their way, their will, their emotions. They have to understand that this don't go the way you want to go. There's a certain process. God has a tailor-made plan specifically for you. He has a tailor-made process specifically for you, because he knows what you need to be a better, healthier you. And so, as always, I always tell wives, there are 3 ways. There are 3 ways that you can work with Coach T. All right. You can, of course, sign up for your consultation. Your consultation allows you to ask questions about your marriage separation. It helps you to gain clarity. It helps you to, just have an understanding of what your husband got going on. Help understand like the spiritual side, the spiritual part of your marriage. That's what the consultation is for. Usually in a consultation, I can tell from that, if this wife needs another, session, if she needs to, see me again, if she needs to, go forward with the next steps, which is the mental and emotional detox. That is my 30-day plan. And that is for wives who need to get their emotions and their mind in alignment. Okay. They need to get their emotions and their mind in alignment. And so I encourage you to sign up for that. Or if you are ready to recover you, then you need to sign up for the Herbonity Boost. The Herbonity Boost is the curriculum that I help wives to get to where God is trying to take them next. The mental and emotional detox is helping you deal with that anger, helping you deal with that frustration, helping you deal with, that rage, helping you deal with, why I'm in this place, why I keep on coming back to the same spot over and over. I keep on, repeating the same steps over and over again. That is what this is about, all right? That's what the mental and emotional detox sessions are about. But then when you get to the place of Herbonity Boost is recovering you. Okay, now I have dealt with my anger. I have dealt with, what I was dealing with my husband. Now I'm ready to get myself on board and move forward with the things that God has for me, all right? And so you can sign up for that on my website at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Now, I always like to challenge my wives, and not just my wives, but my women as well. If you want to go a step deeper, and begin your journey of becoming that boss woman, all right? I'm that boss wife. I'm real big for, wives having their own independency, but wives having their own coins, for wives, maintaining their own, making sure that they have their own ducks, in order, in alignment. alignment. And so if you are that woman and you are ready to, start to explore the world of entrepreneurship, yes, I'm a mental health, wife coach, and I'm a marriage, consultant, but I also help those wives that I coach and the wives that I consult with. I help those wives also from a business standpoint, So where I basically help her, I'm a business advisor for the wives that I coach. I'm a business advisor for the women that I coach, and I help that wife to get to that place that she wants to get on her entrepreneurship journey. I am hosting a Her Own Boss workshop, that is September the 30th. You still have time. You still have time to sign up for that. September 25th is the last day. If you want to be a part of that community and just start to learn about being a boss, start learning how to, run your own business, just start learning. This is also part of your healing. This is also part of your next steps. This is also part of, God doing something else in you. You're not just your husband's wife. You're not just his wife. You are also called to do other things. God has other earthly assignments here on earth for you to do. And so one of the ways I try to influence wives or help wives, we're not going to just sit and just talk about all the sadness and all the pain and all, we have sessions for that. We do that. But then after you do that, let's walk over here and see, how can I help you to improve your life and get you to a place where you can become your own boss. All right. You can sign up for that as well on my website at www.marriagechronicles by Tanika. Listen, wives, I want you to enjoy the rest of your Friday. As you walk into this fall season, as you walk into this last quarter, get in place. Don't miss your shift. Don't miss what it is that God wants to do in your life during this time. Enjoy your Friday. Happy Self-Care Friday, and I'll talk to you soon. Blessings.